Okay. Okay, hey, what's up, guys? SullyCortez. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to be covering why rigging out your camera can be a beneficial thing. So we're just going to go ahead and give everybody a chance to get in here during the live stream, and then we'll get it going. So let me know if the sound is good too. All right, great. I see we got some people watching. Awesome. I'll try to be monitoring live chat, and we will get this started shortly. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you're watching the live stream, I appreciate it more than you guys can ever imagine. So, hey, what's up, Bart? How's it going? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of comments on this topic. Some people hate rigs. Some people like rigs. I quickly want to go over, this is going to be a quick live stream. I just want to cover, what a rig is, what the benefits of a rig may be, and kind of go from there. So, looks like we've got some people showing up. Awesome. All right, so yeah, we'll just go ahead and get it started. So, why rigging your camera can be beneficial? Let's first establish what a rig is. So, when I say rig, I mean something that allows the camera to do a majority of tasks that you want it to do that it doesn't currently do. So, for example, a camera that does not have stabilization built in, you might need something to help stabilize it, whether that be a cage with hand grips or a shoulder mount. That's one version of a rig. Another version of a rig would be something like a computerized gimbal arm that can be controlled through software and has ultimate precision and repeatability. So that's another form of a rig. So again, a rig can mean many different things to many different people, but just so we can establish some foundation, to me a rig means, again, something that helps a camera system do something that it doesn't currently do or doesn't have built inside the body itself. So let's just go over a couple key points that I have on why a rig could be beneficial. So if we're talking bigger cameras, let's talk about cinema cameras, right? A lot of cinema cameras, especially the ones that are coming out, that have just come out and are coming out, C200, EVA1. We'll talk about the EVA1, but majority of these cameras, FS5, FS7, they don't have built-in stabilization. Now, the EVA1 from Panasonic, that is a electronic image stabilization. That is not sensor stabilization. So for the majority of cinema cameras, they don't have stabilization. So you need some sort of stabilization, whether that be a Steadicam rig or a shoulder rig. If you want handheld, you don't have to have handheld. In fact, a lot of people say shooting handheld is cheap, and not everybody should do it because it can degrade the quality of your story. That is true to some regard, but in other aspects, it can really help bring that footage to life and really connect with the audience on an emotional level, kind of drive the story home to everybody watching. So, IBIS, the EVA1 has electronic image stabilization. What is that? That basically just means that it digitally crops in and kind of stabilizes the picture through software. It doesn't actually have a component that sits on the sensor or the sensor itself that stabilizes. So most people don't like shaky footage. I don't like shaky footage, and I'm sure the majority of people watching this stream don't like shaky footage. That's why we get things like gimbals, we get things like Steadicams and stuff like that, or ISO arms. We get all that stuff because shaky footage just looks bad. Not only does it look bad, it usually makes your audience sick, and it also just, again, detracts from the overall story that you're trying to tell. Sorry, if I keep looking over, I'm just trying to read the comments. So, in order to get rid of shaky footage, you need some sort of rig. I don't like. Oh, well, okay, in my everyday shooting, I don't like big, huge rigs. In fact, I want to show you something. Give me 1 second. Let me just get this so I could show you guys. Okay, so in my everyday shooting on the norm, I shoot like this. Just simple body, maybe just some sort of grip enhancement on the side. This is an A6500. I know it's got a massive lens filter on it. I swear by these lens hood, because I have bigger filters. This particular lens, the 50mm OSS crop sensor lens, only has, I believe, a 46mm filter thread. All of my filters are 77 and 82mm, so I have to adapt. That's why I have this giant lens hood. But it is metal, which is great, so it protects it. But anyway, my daily shooting, I use this, right? Nice and small, sensor stabilized, but it doesn't have a good way to get high quality audio into it. Not only that, but the EVF is good. The LCD screen is shit. It's terrible. Especially when you're out in daylight, you literally can't see it. It's pointless. So that's when something like a monitor would come in. Hey, what's up, Chris? Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining in the live chat. So that's when something like a monitor would come in. And again, now I can't just go out and shoot with this, especially with the daytime. Yes, I can use this eye cup, right? I can use the eye cup if I want to take photos in bright daylight. I can use the eye cup if I want to shoot video in bright daylight. But I can't use the eye cup if I want to get really good audio inside the camera. Yes, it has this terrible little small mini jack, which I'm sure a lot of people love, but I personally can't stand. So what I do is when I need to, when I don't have a project that requires a bigger camera and has kind of everything all built into the body, even though, a lot of cameras don't have everything built into the body, even though they say they do, then you might need to add something onto it like this. Now, this may seem a little bit ridiculous at first sight, but let me tell you that this little guy is amazing when it comes to having an all-in-one solution and just not having to worry about your power, not having to worry about whether or not you can see what you're shooting, not having to worry about stop-start control, autofocus control if you want it. I use manual, but hey, to each their own. Having XLR inside, all-in-one. Again, this GH5 can't do all of that, so therefore a rig helps me to get all of the components into the camera body itself at once. Now, a lot of bigger cameras do have, these features built into them. A lot of cinema cameras do. Even the mid-tier cinema cameras like the Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro and the C300, C100, they all have, XLR built in. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. They have all SDI and all that stuff built in. So for when you don't need a giant camera like that, which you usually have to go shoulder mount for, and if you don't have to go shoulder mount, you have to at least have some sort of hand grip to get a really good stabilized shot. When you're using smaller camera for smaller projects, it's totally fine to rig it out to get all of those tools again onto one body so that you're not worrying about 5 different things. You don't have a recorder on the side and you don't have cables running here and there. It's all contained and it's a lot easier to maneuver, use, and shoot. So that's kind of one thing. Let's go to the chat here. The small HD, Chris says the small HD focus is going to address that monitor issue. So he's talking about the high bright focus monitor from Small HD, which they're coming out with soon. And I absolutely agree. That is awesome. Again, not part of the camera. You're now starting to build a rig. Even if that's just a hot shoe extension arm with the monitor's swivel mount, still the camera doesn't have it built in. So again, a rig can be beneficial. Bart says, "Sweet Jesus, little guy." Yeah, uh, it is a little guy. I mean, it's a little bit big. It's a set. I'd rather have my Pixie 5-inch monitor rather than this giant 7-inch monitor. I definitely would not recommend a 7-inch monitor on a setup like this small. But the handles are really solid, really nice. Again, XLR with the Juice Link. In my opinion, the best preamps in the game under $500. But yeah, this is the Audio Technica something. I don't remember the name of that. I think it's the AT897 or something like that, 897R. But again, that camera doesn't have all of that stuff built in, nor does it have false color. It does have waveform and vector scope, but they're kind of hard to see, kind of hard to use. We're talking about the GH5. It takes up a lot on the screen, but even though it does, I would actually like to have it take up the full screen because I really can't even see it that well. And you can't change the size of the vector scope or the waveform on the GH5, at least I'm not aware of. So having a monitor that has those features built in just really allows me to work more efficiently and faster. Yeah. So another thing that I want to talk about too is that when you are using a rig, right, you want to really try to get feather-like smooth footage. And it's not only just about, yeah, I want smooth footage, yeah, I'm going to use a gimbal to get smooth footage. Smooth footage is the end-all, be-all. But it really detracts it really pulls the viewer out and breaks the director's illusion of reality when you're watching something and it's just, it's terribly shaky, and you could tell somebody didn't take the time to properly stabilize the camera, and it just pulls you right out of the element. I mean, that happened on even Hollywood films. That happens on, like, for example, the J.J. Abrams movie. I forget the name of the movie, but it has like this giant creature that comes from the sea, and it's just basically trudging through the city, killing everything in its path. And the entire movie was like crazy shaky footage, and people were leaving the theater throwing up. So I don't remember what the name of the movie was, but if you know, put it in the chat and let me know, because that movie was actually kind of cool. I liked it, but a lot of people didn't like it because it was so shaky, and again was making people sick. Another really great example, if we're talking Hollywood, where a rig can really help you tell the story, is Hurt Locker. I don't know if you guys have seen that. If you haven't, go see Hurt Locker. Amazing film. They used on certain portions, they used a small little handheld shoulder rig, and it really brings you into the story and helps tell that story. That is a great story. If you haven't seen it, go and see it. And that style added overall to that movie. Same thing with like Saving Private Ryan. Crazy shaky footage, but controlled shaky, not just shaky just for being shaky. Yes, thank you. I rep Guam. Cloverfield is the name of that J.J. Abrams film that has crazy shaky footage with the monster stomping through the city. But yeah, Hurt Locker, 21 Grams is another film. Controlled shaky footage, but again, controlled, stabilized with a rig. And let's not only talk about shoulder mounts and hand grips and things like that. Let's talk about some of the bigger toys, like repeatable, precision, computer-controlled drones. And not drones in the sense of flying drones, like DJI. Drones in the sense of robotics. And that's an area that a lot of people don't have access to yet. Some of the higher-end films even don't use it because it can cost so much. These machines cost a lot. One of the rigs that, in doing my research for this live stream, one of the rigs was on a film called, let me see here, Okay, well, I don't remember the name of the film. I'll put the link in the description down below so you guys can actually see what the film is. I think it was like this Rules of Attraction or something, or the Laws of Attraction. I can't remember the name. I'll put it in the description. Check the scene out. It's amazing. Basically, they took they shot the scene multiple times with the actors. They had to repeat exactly what they were doing, and it's James Van Der Beek in one half of the frame, and then this other pretty actress, I forget her name, but she's been in a couple things in the other side of the frame. I think it is called the Rules of Attraction or something like that. And they're walking from the distance, and they come forward, right? They come into frame. So if you watch my two fingers, they're kind of like this, and they're talking. They're talking to each other, but you're just seeing their faces, right? And the impossible shot that they needed the rig to do it was that when they come up really close to the camera and are in frame talking, they stay in frame. They turn, right, as the robot arm, precision, repeatable, controlled, electronic robot drone arm, turns with them and pulls back out to blend the cut split frame into one seamless frame. And it is an amazing shot. It's something that a lot of people have never seen before. It's a shot that only recently has been, has been kind of overutilized in certain films in the last probably 5 years. I think that movie's like 10 years old, so they were one of the first to do something like that. But if you go watch it, I'll put a link in the description. It's amazing. It's really cool, and that could not be done any other way. Yeah, you could have got a dolly grip to, pull the Leonard Chapman dolly back, and you could have rotated the wheels, and had the thing but it wouldn't be precise. It wouldn't be repeatable. It wouldn't be literally within a millimeter of hitting that target every single time. So that is where a rig was essential for that type of shot. Another shot, another type of rig that is used in Hollywood, it's also used quite frequently in a lot of action films, is the Snorri cam, or the Snorri rig, which was a rig developed in the 60s. And the Snorri cam, basically what it is it's a rig that goes on the actor's chest. If you've ever seen behind-the-scenes footage, it basically looks like just metal bars coming off of the actor, and there's a kind of a plate in front of the actor's face, like right about here, and the camera basically sits on that plate and faces the actor. Now, what's unique about the Snorri rig that isn't really like any other rigs is that it's only as good as the actor's performance. Because it's so close, and because that rig is designed to like literally bring you right up into the actor's face, they usually use super wide angle lenses, if not fisheye for it. It brings you right up into the moment, and if they can sell it, man, it looks good. And it's a shot that you can't get without a rig, without the Snorri rig in particular. So yeah, there's other ways to mimic it, but there's really no way to capture the essence of that performance that close and that stabilized. A good example of this is Requiem for a Dream. Not sure if you guys have ever seen that. Again, I'll probably put a link in the description for that film. That is another film that, again, without that rig, they wouldn't have been able to get those shots. And those shots are when Marlon Wayans and Jared Leto and I forget the girl's name. She was in, I think she was in, I forgot what she was in. She was in, what was that movie with all the Muppets and everything, and it had, oh God, what was it called? It had all the Muppets and stuff, and it was David something. Okay, I can't remember. Labyrinth. That's it, Labyrinth. Jennifer Connelly. So it had Jennifer Connelly in it. And if you watch all of their performances, Marlon Wayans, Jennifer Connelly, and Jared Leto, when they're wearing the Snorri rig, it's awesome. Again, something that you couldn't have gotten without that particular rig, without that Snorri rig. And another really cool rig, while we're talking about Hollywood, I'm sure everyone's seen it. And I think it's one of the coolest rigs ever invented for, sorry, let me just swipe up. I've got this notification thing. I think it's one of the coolest rigs. Yes, thank you, Bart, says Jennifer Connolly. One of the coolest rigs I've ever seen, ever in any Hollywood picture is the Smart Gun from Aliens by James Cameron. Not my favorite film, well, second favorite film, Alien from 1979, but Aliens, which came later. James Cameron did the sequel. The guns, the machine guns in that film are actually Steadicam ISO arms and rigs, vests, but they took a German class M32, I think it was, MK232 machine gun, spruced it up a little bit to make it look more modern, and stuck that on an ISO arm, a Steadicam ISO arm, and that's what you're actually seeing in the movie Aliens, which I thought was so cool when I first saw it. I was like, wait a minute, that looks like a Steadicam arm. And sure enough, reading into the BTS, and finding out all the behind the scenes on it, it was a Steadicam vest with an ISO arm with a gun attached to it. And that not only is taking something that a camera doesn't do, or a rig, and utilizing it in a different way, that's combining a rig with something that didn't exist to make a prop that looked awesome as an end product in the film. So there's a little bit of trivia. Now you know, rigs can not only be beneficial for getting a shot, but they can also sometimes be used in the shot and to tell the story. Point in case, Aliens. So the reason why I want to make this live stream and talk with you guys is because I hear a lot of people dismissing rigs. And while, yes, rigs can be bulky, and they can be big, and they can be cumbersome, they can slow you down, they also can serve a purpose. And I would be hard-pressed to find any professional out there that says, rigs are stupid, no one should use a rig, and just to, quell all these haters, the guys that don't use rigs ever, and they talk smack about them, there's a purpose for them. And that's why companies build them. That's why companies innovate on them. Companies like Zacuto and like Bart Johnson was talking in the chat just now, Landpart is another company that makes rigs. Some of these companies, they do it because the end user needs these tools, It's not all about just the lightest, smallest package you can get. It's about utilizing the tools to their advantage to help you tell your story, and to help you, and if you're not on a narrative piece, to help you get the story if you're doing doc shooting, So I would again take a long look at, if you need something, and let's say, for example, you're thinking about getting, a new camera or upgrading, well, maybe you can just kind of sit back and say, maybe I don't actually need to go out and buy a whole brand new camera or system. What can I do to add on without blowing a budget that I have to make this unit better? And that's where a rig really can come in handy for low budget and no budget and indie filmmakers, is to enable you to get the shot and do the job that you can do. Again, all self-contained and easily accessible without breaking the bank or taking out a second mortgage. So, yeah, just wanted to share my thoughts on that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's go to the chat real quick and see if there's anything else. Okay, so Chris Cheek says, I just bought a Zoom H6. That's awesome. The H6 is great. It has really good preamps, but I think the pots are still digital. I don't think the attenuation is actually analog, like on the Juice Link. But that's okay. It still sounds good. It still has a lot of features in it, and I believe you can do up to 6 tracks on the H6. So that's awesome. And again, the H6, just like the H1 and all the other ones, you can use it in a variety of situations. And if you were to slap that onto a rig, then you've got XLR in to your small DSLR, or it can go out to a bigger camera if you want to bypass the internal preamps on the camera, should it have XLR in. Or should it not have multiple XLRs now you have a way to get high quality audio with multiple XLRs, which is always good. Bart Johnson Productions says, I wish there was a store where they just had bins of rods and clamps and plates, and you could build a rig and then buy it, sort of like a Lego store for camera rigs. That would be awesome. Maybe somebody should do that, should invent that. I would definitely love to visit that store. And see, that's another thing too, is that when you build a rig, you kind of Frankenstein everything together. There's certain rigs like the Alexas and the Reds of the world that have all their first-party components, but for the most part, lower budget, we're going to be adding components from different manufacturers. So having the ability to completely customize your rig, in my opinion, is better for the end user, which in turn is better for the company that's putting out that product, because a lot of times you'll get a rig where there's like one small thing that you can't change, or one small thing that doesn't work right or fit right or adjust right. And that can really hinder your ability to move quickly and utilize that rig to its full potential. Like, for example, I was going to use this. I wasn't going to use this. I put it here just in case of a prop, but I just want to show you. Here's another rig that I use, that I shoot with when I'm using a lot of bigger cameras, and that's the Zacuto Indy Recoil. You can see here, it's got a V-mount battery on the back, a mic on top, an EVF, and a follow focus grip style with remote control in the front. Now, obviously, you're going to be using this for bigger cameras, bigger productions. I don't even mind, using it for my A6500, because it makes it a lot more stable when I'm shooting, when I'm using it for handheld. When I have something like the Sigma 18-35 on, I've got this amazing manual tornado follow focus here, which also acts as a grip, which is killer. And then I have start-stop remote functionality and zoom and focus all down in my fingers. So I literally don't need to touch the camera once it's on here. So utilizing a rig for even small cameras like this or the GH5 really can help you, and it can be beneficial because you can, again, have everything at your fingertips, especially when you're using something like this. Now, I primarily only use this for doc shooting, and I have used it on like one or two narrative pieces. I think I used it on a music video that we did like a year or two ago. But the problem with a rig like this is that, let's see if we can see it. Okay, so this plate right here, right, the Gorilla System plate, they do have a new version now, and it does have a sliding plate, but the biggest problem with this is that in order to move this plate, so move the camera fore and aft, you have to flip the entire thing over, which, who the heck is going to do that when you've got, 50 pounds of, or 30 pounds or 25 pounds of camera equipment on? Flip the whole thing over and then unscrew the screws from the bottom through the shoulder pad, and then you can move that plate, which is the worst design ever. So on the new models, they do have a sliding plate, but again, not every rig is for every job. Not every rig is going to be perfect. There's going to be small little things, unless we could do what Bart Johnson was saying and go to a store and just pick out a whole bunch of different components to put our rig together. There's probably always going to be something that you got to watch out for when building a rig that may hinder you and may hinder your shooting ability. So that's something that, good, thank you, Bart, for bringing that up, because that's definitely something that you need to watch out for when building a rig. A lot of people, when they're building a rig, they usually just go, okay, either I'm going to buy this rig and it's a rig from a reputable company and it's a full kit, or I'm going to get in as cheap as I can, buy the bare minimum, and then I'll buy all these other third-party accessories and cobble Frankenstein something together, and I'll make it work. Well, usually when you go, I'll make it work and cobble stuff together, it doesn't really work that well. And in fact, I would argue that you shouldn't do that. You should probably, if you're going to go all out and build a full rig, stick with one company, stick with all their parts so that everything's compatible. Now, when it comes to things like audio and adapters and things like that, that's a different story, because obviously go with the brand that you trust and that you know is reliable and works. But when it comes to rigs, rods, and parts and plates and things like that, you definitely should watch out for that. Because, like, for example, I have Bart also brought up Kessler, and Kessler is awesome. Now, Kessler, just to show you here, they make these Arca plates right here, right? So here's the normal VCT plate, and then here's a long Arca plate that Kessler makes. And I use that on the Kessler quick release system, which I highly recommend everybody get into that system, because it is way better than Manfrotto, better than any other system I've ever used, including the RE Dovetail system. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. But Kessler's plates, which do I have another plate here? Yes, I do. Kessler's plates, here is the Kessler quick stand. This is amazing. So Arca plates, right? Arca plates, everyone hates Arca plates because when you put the Arca plate down and you put your camera on it, especially if it's front heavy on a small little rig with a cage or something like that, the little pins that stop the Arca plate from slipping out, they make the camera wobble and you can't put it on a flat surface. Well, what Kessler did is they made the quick stand, and it still has those two little pins so that your camera won't fly out of an Arca release, but it also has these feet here which don't get in the way of most DSLR and DSLM cameras' battery doors, so you don't got to worry about that. But they made it so that you can put it down and sit it flat on any flat surface, which is awesome, and it won't roll or flex or anything like that. But anyway, the reason why I bring up Kessler that Bart reminded me is that Kessler's Arca plates, they are different than, what is this, Pixco Arca plates, or Utebit, Utebit, super cheap but awesome high quality Arca stuff products on Amazon. They're different, and if you didn't know any better and you just ordered these together, you would say, oh, they're Arca, so they'll work. Just like when you're ordering a rig, you're saying, oh, well, I'll get this rig and it will work, and I'll get other parts that are supposed to be compatible and they will work. Well, unfortunately, I hate to tell you, these plates don't fit in the same receivers. This one's a little too fat and it won't sit in the quick release correctly. In fact, it won't sit in any Arca plate that I have correctly except the one that it came for. The Kessler, however, fits in all Arca plates. So you got to do your research, especially when you're building out rigs, because, you know, you might get something that you think is compatible and it's not compatible at all. So, yeah. Going down, Bart Johnson Production says, I use the Ronin for stabilization, thinking about the Zhiyun or Chun crane for the GH5 now. Bart, highly recommend getting the crane. It's amazing. Okay. I know we're talking about rigs, but let me just say that the crane is by far the most fun I've ever had using a stabilizer. It is the best stabilizer I've used. I've used 4 handheld stabilizer, pistol grip style, including which I have here, including the Beholder DS1, which I don't recommend. When it first came out, okay, fine. Now, no. Do not get the DS1, trust me. In fact, I'm selling that. The crane is by far the best, most versatile handheld pistol grip style gimbal on the market. Not only is it the most versatile, but it is the smoothest in terms of footage acquisition. It really does help smooth out footage. Paired with an A6300 under $1,000, the footage that camera can capture with the crane, whoo, you don't need an A6500. And even if you were to just use smaller cameras, you can still stabilize everything from like an RX100 Mark V all the way up to a 5D Mark IV with a 16-35. Okay, don't quote me on the 16-35, but I'm pretty sure it can hold a lot of weight with a 5D Mark IV. At least that's what they claim. So in my experience, I also have, I'm not going to pick it up because it's huge and massive, but I also have a Turbo Ace All Steady Motion, the newest model of the Turbo Ace brand of gimbals. Like a Ronin, it takes almost all of the same components and parts as a Ronin's, but it's a cheaper version. And it uses Alex Moss software, whereas DJI Ronin does not use Alex Moss software. It uses its own proprietary software. And in terms of rigs, I would definitely stick with one of two. Either get the pistol grip, single hand operator style, for smaller cameras, and if you want to go real lightweight, or get the dual handle models like the Ronin or the Turbo Ace All Steady if you have a bigger camera like a Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro or a C100, C200, something like that. I would not put an A7 on a Ronin or an All Steady Motion. Yes, you can do it. Yes, people do it all the time. That's fine. But for me, I think it's a little overkill. I think it's too heavy, and you're going to tire yourself out when you can just use the crane, which is a small, simple handheld system. And if you want to go two hands on the crane, you can. That'll make it a little bit more stable. But that's a lot more practical for a smaller camera like that. Whereas when we're talking about shoulder rigs, shoulder mounts, harnesses, things like that, it's okay to go a little bit bigger on a shoulder rig because that mass, that inertia is going to be beneficial. Even if the camera is smaller, like a DSLR or DSLM, it's still going to help stabilize that. The movements are bigger. So when you make a movement, it's not a quick juddery motion. It's a nice, long, slow motion because, you've got so much mass and inertia behind it. It looks great, especially, I forgot to bring this up, especially for cameras with horrible rolling shutter. That is a way to combat the rolling shutter. Throw it on a nice, big inertia shoulder rig and start panning around, and you'll see that rolling shutter, as long as you're nice and fluid, almost won't exist. Unless, of course, there's fast objects in the frame, but you can negate it by giving it some mass and inertia. So going back to the chat, motion control. Kessler has so much gear for motion control. Yeah, they do. Kessler does have a lot of gear for motion control. And I haven't used the Kessler stuff, like the second shooter or anything like that. I haven't actually had a chance to play with that stuff, but I hear it's great. I hear it's amazing. I hear it's awesome. My next thing, if we're talking rigs, my next thing is the Rhino Motion. I own the Rhino Slider, the new one, the Evo Pro, 24-inch metal rails. It can hold up to 100 pounds, guys, 100 pounds. You're never going to get 100 pounds unless you're shooting like 3D. Even like the 70mm cameras, they don't even get up to 100 pounds. It's only when you're shooting like 3D and you're using huge, big cameras, or, you've got like a Mitchell mount with a whole bunch of gear stuffed on it all at once. But, and you're using like some ridiculous, 25 times zoom cinema lens. But yeah, Rhino Motion for me is the next part of my rig, because I definitely want to get into some of that motion control sliding, because that stuff is awesome. Everyone loves seeing that. Even if you use it for a couple snippets here, a couple snippets there, motion control slider moves are awesome. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's what a dolly and a grip could do, but self-contained in one unit, and you don't really have to worry about it. You program it, you let it go. It's a thing of beauty. So thank you for bringing that up, Bart. Let's get to the chat. Oh, wow, there's a lot of people in here. Hey, what's up, Shiznuts? Nice. Thanks for joining. Going down here. I'm just scanning the chat, guys. Let's see. What are some of your favorite... Bart Johnson Productions, what are some of your favorite rig companies and components? Well, I just showed you a couple. My Zacuto rig is definitely one of my favorite. For those of you just joining, watching on the replay, in case you didn't see it, here's the Indy recoil from Zacuto. This is one of my mainstays. I use this a lot. But other than that, I don't use that many other rigs. So really, I just stick with Zacuto. And now I've gotten into Kessler a lot more because I love their quick release system, and I love their Arca plates. They're nice and beefy and sturdy, and that lock, when it clicks in, it's not going anywhere. So it's reliable, and that's really, really what I like. And yeah, I mean that's all for rigs. I do also like the, what was it? It was the Cool Lux. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that company called Coolux. They make a base plate called the Shift base plate, and I've been talking with one of their reps, Gary. Excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to cough into the mic. I've been talking with one of the reps, Gary, and he's potentially going to send me a demo unit to do a review on and to test out, because that looks amazing. That Shift base plate, basically what a Shift base plate is where the Zacuto is using the VCT system. So VCT dates back to like the Betamax cameras, big, huge cameras. You click it on, it slides in, it locks in place, and it won't come out until you release a little catch lever. Well, unlike the VCT, which adds weight to your tripod, and it makes it difficult when shooting docs because you're trying to get out there, trying to do your thing. You maybe want to bring a tripod, but now there's extra weight, adds like 2 pounds almost, the VCT plate, depending on which one you get. And that's really the only way that you can balance most shoulder rigs, to have them on a tripod. If you try to just put on the like Manfrotto style plate onto the front of these shoulder rigs, you'll notice that you're never going to be able to get it, balanced on the tripod correctly. It'll always be back heavy. So unless you get it over the tripod head, that rig is always going to be, the weight balance is going to be offset, and it's going to be on the back. And you don't want that, because that's just going to kill your counterbalance on your head, not to mention potentially damaging the head if it's a lot of weight and it's way beyond the max of the counterbalance rating. And the Shift base plate ditches the VCT base plate and basically just pops out of the bottom. So it swings out of the bottom and it makes a shoulder rest, right? So it creates a shoulder rest here with the camera, but it also comes down onto your chest a little bit, and it hugs your chest. So it creates kind of like a little L shape going across your chest and over your shoulder, which is very interesting because it cuts down the weight and it makes it really fast to have to click the lever back up in place, pop it on the tripod, and go. You don't have to worry about VCT locking or anything like that. And I've had problems with VCT plates too. The little tail hook isn't always made for all VCT plates, so when you pop the camera inside of it, it's still flimsy and it still moves and it still shakes a little bit, the tail hook of the VCT. So, and you gotta adjust that little receiver pin in the back, and it's kind of annoying. And it'd be cool to have something like the Shift base plate, which would be nice and fast, and you don't have to worry about that. So, just reading the comments. Shiz says, looks like a crossbow monkey gym to my other rig. And Kessler, I only know them from Film Riot. Damn, how much did you spend on that setup? If you're talking about the Zacuto Indie Recoil, that's about $1,500, and then all the other components on it, like the EVF, the Tornado grip, the VCT plate, which isn't included, the V-mount batteries, the ARCA plates, all that stuff, and the cabling, probably about 2 Gs, somewhere around there. But you got to remember, when you're looking at rigs and you're going, man, that's a lot of money, holy cow, I can't afford that. Always remember that whatever you buy, for the most part, when it's not a camera body, it's going to outlast your camera. It's going to be with you for potentially your entire career, or when you decide to sell it, or when it breaks. Those are the only times that it's really going to go anywhere. So it's an investment. You're making an investment. You're not just dropping a bunch of money and saying, here's a bunch of money on something I might use once or twice. Make sure if you're going to build a rig and you're going to get a rig, and you're going to put the money into it, that it's an investment that's going to stay with you, that you're going to utilize over the next couple years, potentially 10, 20, if it's high quality and it's it's very well built, like the Zacuto stuff. They give you a lifetime warranty on any of the components that are non-electronic, and that speaks volumes in terms of customer service and reliability. They know that their products are going to last a long time, and if anything happens to it, you can send it back to them or ask them to replace it, and they will do it, no questions asked. That's part of their warranty. That's kind of the same thing with Miller. I just recently am joining the Miller tripod family because I can't stand some of these other manufacturers and their tripods. failing. I've just had too many fail on me. The heads just give out. The counterweight balance is off, or it's not enough, or it's too little, or it's too much, and they don't last. They don't last. Buy once. How does the saying go? I think it's something like buy once and it'll last. Buy twice and it's grass or something. I don't know. It's not that. I don't remember what the saying is, but basically buy quality stuff so that you don't have to buy cheap crap twice. So when looking for a rig, always do your research and make sure that not only is it an investment, but it's a good investment that's going to last for a while. Okay, going back to the chat. So, go big or go home. I'm using a Velbun QRA3. Not sure what that is. Shiznut says everybody swears by the tune. I'll say Xeon because everybody says Xeon, but that's not how you say it. Everybody swears by the Xeon. I have the Pilot Fly H2. Might have to let it go. It's meh. Yeah, the Pilot Fly H2 is not the best handheld gimbal. I used it. I didn't really like it. I'm pretty sure that's the one that's got like a fat pistol grip. I didn't like how fat that grip was either. And it's the only one besides the EC one and now the crane that could hold that weight at that time. But now the crane can hold that weight and then some, and trust me, ditch what you got, get the crane. It's cheap. It's only $600 and something. It's worth it. It is literally out of the box perfect. Throw your camera on and go. You don't have to worry about it. It's an awesome rig. It's an awesome setup. Great gimbal. Is that version 2? What are you asking? iRip Guam, are you asking is the Indie Recoil system version 2 or is the crane version 2? I think you mean the crane, and yes, that is version 2 crane. For those who don't know, the version 2 crane as opposed to the version 1 crane, the only major difference is that they've added some buttons here. I don't know if you can see that, if it'll focus, but they've added some buttons there on the front, and they also I added my own Arca quick release, but they also have an Arca quick release right here. You can see an Arca style quick release. It's got pins right there, but I didn't want to be taking that out. Although it does have numbering here. Oh, too bright. Although it has numbering right here on the side, so you can repeatably put your plate where you want. I just put an Arca quick release on there so that all I got to do, drop my camera on and go. I don't got to worry about adjusting anything. I pull it out, put the batteries in, screw the handle on, throw it on and go. That's it. No adjusting, no tensioning, no balancing, no nothing. I just throw it on and go, and that's really how it should be. It should be nice and quick and fast. And you really don't want to be farting around on set while the director's tapping his toe going, what the heck are you doing? You're literally wasting money. I can see the money burning up in flames. It's just flames in my eyes, money down the drain. You don't want that, trust me. Okay, so going back to the chat, Dave Dugdale said it's his favorite now too. Yes, I did see that. Dave did say the crane version 2, I believe, is his. Well, I think he only had version 1, and he saw version 2 at NAB. But they just started shipping version 2 just before NAB. That's how I got mine. And yeah, version 2 is amazing. And the new update that they did for the weight enhancement, also amazing. Going to chat again. True, you don't need an A6500. Just an A6300 with crane is awesome. Exactly. An A6300, again, now I think they just dropped the price even. So now it's like $899, I believe. Under $1,000 with a crane, which is $600, almost the same amount that you would spend on an A6500. And it could basically do everything an A6500 can do, and now you have a gimbal that will outlast that camera, because eventually you're going to sell that camera body, and if you don't sell that camera body and you just want it for nostalgic reasons, or you want it for a B camera, then you now have a tool that will let you negate all of the rolling shutter, all of the nonsense that comes with not having a stabilized camera system, and it will be stabilized. Again, it'll outlast that camera body too. So it's not just that combo, it's that combo and everything that comes after it, which is really cool. So blah, Sony, but in theory, Genie Rig, Small Rig, and Faka. Oh yeah, Small Rig is another company. That's what this is actually. The GH4 rig that I've got here, or sorry, GH5 rig. This is actually built upon a Small Rig cage. Yeah, you can't really see it. Oh, there you go. And the cord's in the way. Small Rig. Yeah, I actually love Small Rig. They're a great company. I think it was Bart that was asking which companies do you like. Yeah, I love Small Rig. I actually talked with Small Rig a long time ago, and ever since I first contacted them and got their first VCT system, which I still use today, um, ever since I got that first VCT system, Small Rig and I have been really close. I helped them design the Pixie 5 cage system for the Pixie 5 Video Devices Pixie 5 external monitor recorder with the PixLR. So if you have the PixLR, you can extend the cage and add the PixLR on it, and it fits around the entire thing. We designed that together. We did a co-design on that. And Simon and Lucia, all those people at Small Rig are awesome. They're a great little company, up and coming, kind of like Yi, with the whole Yi 4K camera. Well, these guys are kind of the same thing, but not in action cams, more in rigs. And their rigs are phenomenal. All of their aluminum is precision, high quality made. It's not this, knockoff crap. It's actually really, really good. And yeah, I think they're a great company. So if you're looking for companies in terms of building out your rig, Small Rig is definitely a company to keep in mind. Almost everything on this GH5 rig, by the way, is from Small Rig. So yeah, the rosettes that hold on these wooden handles that are designed by a guy from Holland. I forgot his name. Oh, Hans. Hans designed these. These are in the style of Aton film camera grips. That's where they originally come from. The grips are awesome, but they're held on by Small Rig quarter-inch rosettes, which go right into the side of the cage, and I still have access to all the ports on the side. See, I've got the HDMI and the USB-C and the headphone and the mic in, and it works really, really well. The Small Rig cage is a great design. I love it. A lot of people are saying they don't like it because it actually blocks the right side of the camera. When you go to grip it, it's hard for them to get their fingers up on top and use the buttons. Well, what I say to that is, well, you can't see it here, but let me see if I can show you. What I say to that is right there. GH5 button enhancers. They're coming. They exist right now for Sony cameras, but Chris Engel, who I've also been working with to make the GH5 button enhancers, they are coming. They will be on eBay soon. We are also, he asked me to help him make the very first, world's first GH5 iCup. You can see I don't have my iCup on here, and we're going to be designing the best iCup that you could get currently on the market. And I think he's going to be releasing it very soon, if not already. You could pre-order it probably. Just go on eBay, type in username Cengell, Cengell, and you can get GH5 button enhancers, which raise the height of the buttons. So if you have a problem with like the Small Rig cage and you can't reach around and grab the buttons, you could stick these button enhancers on and it'll raise the buttons, so it's a lot easier to find the buttons and use them and touch them, as well as the upcoming GH5 iCup, which I think is great. I don't use the iCup or the EVF all that often. I do use it for photos, and yes, I do shoot photos with the GH5 because it produces amazing photos, so why not? Comparable to my A6500. I've looked at them side by side, and I mean, you got to really, really, really pixel peep to even tell a difference. That's how good the photos are on the GH5. GH5 is a beast, man. It's a powerhouse. I don't know what to say. A lot of people hate on it for photos, but it's great at photos. That new sensor, it kicks ass, man. And it's very, very close, again, to the Sony. It's not as close in low light, of course, but it's very close in terms of resolution and image quality out of the sensor. So let's go back to the chat here. Shiznut says, I'm not a Christmas tree guy. I like sticking to travel basics myself. Okay. Bart Johnson Production says, I'm working on a small rig solution for anamorphic shooting on the GH5. Basically just a small rig base plate and some 15mm rods and a lens support. Yeah, I actually have, well, they're packed away, but I actually have some anamorphic lenses. And the way I do it, you know what? Let me see if I can just move this. Hang on one second, guys. This might shake a little bit. I just want to. It's not going to come off. All right, whatever. Oh, I have it. I have a spare right here. So yeah, Bart, I also have this. I don't know if you can see it right here. This small rig lens mount. So what I do is for anamorphic shooting on a GH5, I basically just use a small rig Arca base plate with a Arca receiver and a 2-post system that goes down into another Arca plate, and then 2 rods that go through. Toss on the GH5, put on an anamorphic lens with a little lens support, and you're good to go. You're shooting anamorphic on a budget on the GH5, which is awesome. Small rig is definitely cool for that. Sounds interesting. What anamorphic you want to be using? What taking lenses are you thinking of? Yeah, as far as anamorphic shooting, I love anamorphic shooting. Oh god, I'm getting a warning that the phone's going to die here soon, so I got to wrap up the live stream. Even though I've got it on battery power, it's still going to die apparently. Okay, so let me just skip down in the chat here. Going down. Bart Johnson Production says, what do you think about the Lampart Dragon kit that puts a cage around a lens adapter instead of the camera? I hadn't seen a lot of new ideas in the world of cages and rigging. Yeah, that system is really cool. If you don't know what it is, the Dragon kit from a company called Lampart, we were talking about that earlier, allows you to make, they make rigs, but this new Dragon kit cage essentially puts a cage, just like I was reading, around an adapter. So a Metabones adapter, whether it be PO mount, EF mount, I'm sure they'll have all of them, Nikon mount eventually, but right now I think it's only EF or PL. And those allow you to remove the camera body and keep the camera body nice and compact without a cage around it, without anything on it, and you just click off the camera body, click off the lens, and the adapter is what's inside the cage with the handle and the rails attached to it. Definitely a really cool idea, unique idea. I haven't really seen anything quite like it. It makes me a little bit nervous that the GH5 is kind of, or any camera, A7S, A6500, is just kind of hanging there off the lens mount. I don't know if it has any support for the camera body, but it does make me a little bit sketchy if it's just literally hanging there connected. But it is cool. I did see some of the footage that you, Bart, shot and some other people shot at NAB of the Dragon kit, and it does look really inventive and unique. Not sure who it's really marketed to, but because they did have some PL glass on there with an A7S, so it's kind of a small batch of a niche of people who would be utilizing a rig like that, but still definitely cool. And it's always good to see people innovating and trying to bring the latest gear to the world. So yeah. By the way, thank you guys so much for joining the live stream. I appreciate it. If you can, go ahead and leave a thumbs up on the video. And for everybody watching the replay, thumbs up, comment below, and let me know. Let's go ahead and discuss. What do you guys think about rigging out your camera? Are there any benefits? Do you find it as a hindrance? I'm very interested to know and hear everybody's thoughts and opinions. I love the community here on YouTube. You guys are awesome, and talking with you and finding out where people's heads are at in terms of all of these subjects, filmmaking related, I find it really fascinating. And I always love to hear differing opinions, because maybe something might not work for you, or it might work for you, and it might not work for me until I try it. And then maybe when I try it, it's awesome and I love it. So, it's always good to share opinions and get everybody's thoughts across and kind of try new things and experiment. So thank you so much again for sharing your thoughts and opinions in the comments and in the live stream. So if there's anything else, if you guys want to ask any more questions, if you have any more comments or anything like that in the live chat, go ahead and throw it in there now while I get this real quick. We'll go ahead and talk about those or answer any questions that you might have. But again, I just wanted to come on and do a quick live stream about why rigging out your camera can be a beneficial thing and why you shouldn't dismiss it immediately if you've never done it. Every tool has its place for every different type of filmmaker out there or photographer. So, when you hear new things coming along, or you hear somebody talking about something, or somebody makes a post or a comment, don't immediately just jump down their throat and be like, oh, that's stupid. Who uses that crap? I'll never use that crap. That's just dumb. That's fine. You don't have to use it. You don't even have to look at it if it makes you angry, because I know that's how the internet is. Some people are trolls, and just looking at something or hearing something makes them angry. But, that's fine. To each his own, or her own. Everybody does not have to be the same person and like the same things. So, again, it's good to share our thoughts and opinions. It's also even better to do it in a nice, polite way and not be a troll. So, anyone that wants to comment, on the replay, just don't be a troll. I've had a couple of those already on my previous videos. So, if you have something intelligent to say or add to the conversation, please go ahead and do it and leave it in the comments below. So like I said, I'll leave links to some of the movies that I mentioned. That way you guys can check out some of the particular scenes I was talking about for some of the rigs that they were using in those films, and how it wouldn't have been able to happen unless they utilized those rigs. Just to give you guys an example of how it's beneficial. So again, everyone in the live chat, I don't see anything new in the live chat. I bought the GH5 for YouTube use, but I'm pretty impressed. That's good. Yeah, I thought the GH4 did... Yeah, I thought if the GH4 did anything, it was prove it is a beast and thrives in a production environment where you control lighting and focus, etc. Anyways, yes, GH4, awesome in a controlled environment, even awesome as a dock camera, believe it or not. In fact, GH5 is even better because it's got that IBIS, and that IBIS is fantastic, especially with the dual IBIS. So, all right, battery's going to die. Thank you guys so much for joining in the live stream. I really appreciate it. You could check out all of my work, all of my website, all that stuff in the description below, SullyCortez.com. I'll have the card come up here or there or somewhere. I don't know, YouTube is always flipping things around. Check out all of my other social media links. Follow me on Instagram. That is huge. I really love Instagram. Guys, follow me there. Comment there. Like my photos. If you like them, if you don't, then you can tell me how bad I suck. So thank you again for watching the live stream. Thank you all of you in the live chat. Again, the community on YouTube is awesome, so love you guys. And anyone watching on the replay, thank you again. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next live stream, or the next review, or the next video. Take care, have a great night.